What's good, everybody? I'm GG, man. It's time to give you my take on international and national politics and news. So let's get to it, shall we? First things first. For you guys that think that things are dying down in Russia and in the Ukraine, you're wrong. Because Vladimir Putin just declared martial law. Basically, he didn't spell out the exact steps that would be taken under this martial law, but said that his order was going to be effective starting Thursday. His decree gave law enforcement agencies 3 days to submit specific proposals and orders the creation of territorial defense forces in the annexed regions, which he's already basically taken over. So, in his own words, he says, "We are working to solve very difficult large-scale tasks to ensure Russia's security and safe future to protect our people. Those who are on the front lines are undergoing training at firing ranges and training centers should feel our support and know they have our big, great country and unified people behind their back." Now, again, he didn't provide details, but what we do know is that also martial law could be introduced anywhere in Russia whenever necessary. So for those who think that this thing is dying down, it's not, and this could have implications for what's to come in relation to U.S. foreign policy, because Biden and Putin have been bumping heads, man, and kind of playing chicken with each other. We don't want things to break out into a thermonuclear war. I personally don't want to see that in my lifetime, but hey. On to other news, man. Average American citizens, according to a recent Associated Press poll, are pessimistic about the state of U.S. democracy and the way elected officials are chosen. Now, this opinion that the public has comes nearly 2 years after a divisive presidential election that spurred claims about widespread fraud. And it eventually led to January 6th, which was a violent attack on the U.S. Capitol. Now, the poll basically states that only about half of Americans have confidence that votes in the upcoming midterm elections will actually be counted accurately. And even though that's an improvement from about 4 in 10 saying that just before the 2020 presidential election, only 9% of U.S. adults think that democracy is working, while 52% say it's not working well. So I'm just saying, man, if the continuing opinion of the public is that democracy is not working, you might be seeing some more skirmishes like January 6th in the future. But hey, who knows? On the different news, abortion, it seems, and its access is having an impact over medical residency applications. So students in obstetrics and gynecology and family medicine, because obstetrics and gynecology go together, and family medicine, these are two of the most popular medical residencies. And now, the students are facing tough choices about where to advance their training in a social landscape where legal access to abortion switches up from state to state. Now, abortions are typically performed by OBGYNs or family doctors, and training generally involves observing and assisting in the procedure, often in outpatient clinics. Many doctors and students now worry about non-existent or subpar training in states where clinics are closed or abortion laws were otherwise tightened after the overturn of Roe v. Wade. In some cases, applicants who want to perform abortions as part of their training are pursuing residencies in states that are more liberal and perhaps continuing their careers in those states too, potentially setting up less permissive states for a shortage of OBGYN doctors. So ladies, be aware. you might be seeing a shortage in people who can provide you reproductive health care. It's the facts. In other news, speaking of Biden is set to release 15 million barrels from oil reserves, and more might even be possible coming up. So he announced Wednesday that he's going to go into the U.S. strategic reserves as a response to recent production cuts announced by OPEC nations. And again, he says more drawdowns are possible this winter. And part of this is probably a gesture, being made in order to pull out all the stops ahead of next month's midterm elections. And tonight, Biden will deliver remarks to announce the drawdown from the strategic reserve. And it completes the release of 180 million barrels authorized by Biden in March that was initially supposed to occur over 6 months. That has sent the strategic reserves to its lowest levels since '84, in what the administration called a bridge until domestic production could be increased. The reserve now contains roughly 40 million barrels of oil. So at least you might not feel very much pressure at the pump because of this new release from the strategic reserves. But if we don't get to producing oil the way we can real soon, we might have a problem. You might see those pumps have dollar signs of up to $6, $6 and more. So let's just hope, man, they get this together for the sake of all our gas tanks. And last but not least, man, I want to talk about the internet services being offered to poor people, man, in less white neighborhoods. Because basically they're getting real lousy deals on internet service. Okay? And this is a tragedy, man. In some areas, AT&T only offers download speeds of 1 megabit per second or less, trapping them in a digital stone age. Some people's internet is so slow in America that it doesn't meet Zoom's recommended minimum for group video calls, and doesn't even come close to the Federal Communication Commission's definition of what broadband is, which is around about 25 megabits per second, and is worlds below median income or medium home internet speeds in the US, which is around about 167, megabits per second. But the tragedy is that people who live in these low income neighborhoods are still paying the same prices as people in middle class or wealthier neighborhoods, man. Now come on, AT&T and other service providers, y'all can do better than this. This is an infrastructural problem related to justice. You can't charge people for services that they're not receiving. Shape up or ship out, man. Straighten up and fly right or get off the pot, man. I was gonna say something more colorful, but I'm trying to keep it clean on this one. But anyway, man, that's my take on international and national politics and some mundane news. I'll be back at you at a later time, man, with some more info, bro. I'll holler at y'all later, man. Peace.